With new Genesis coming out this year, is it worth investing a ton of Meseta in making super endgame gear so when new Genesis does come out, we'll be able to transfer our gear over? Now there is something very important to point out first, and that is all 15-star weapons in vanilla PSO2, when we transfer it over into new Genesis, they become 4-star weapons. However, another thing to also keep note of is 4-star weapons is going to be the maximum rarity on vanilla release of new Genesis. So a lot of people have this mindset of thinking, hey, maybe I should invest a lot into my Cras Weapon or my 15-star weapon so that when new Genesis comes out and I transfer the weapon over, I'll be able to get a head start. And naturally, with this mindset, everyone starts thinking about augments. What happens to all of our S abilities? Well, lucky for you, I'm going to be explaining all of that in today's video. But first of all, if you're new to the channel, I upload PSO2 content daily, so if you do play this game, I'd really appreciate a subscribe as it really helps out the channel. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin the video. So over here is a screenshot of a Cras Weapon. So you can see that the Cras Weapon had 8 slots, it transferred over, their attack damage is now reduced to 230, as you can see 4 stars, which is going to be the maximum rarity on release. But do keep note that 9 stars is the maximum rarity at the moment based off the closed beta. Now of course, all the information I'm going to be presenting to you in today's video is based off the closed beta, so a lot of things can change, alright? So another thing over here which I'm very interested in is it says that you need to be level 15 to equip it, but it says that you're currently level 1. So I don't exactly know if you can equip your 4-star weapon immediately at level 1, or you have to actually hit level 15 before you can equip your Cras Weapon that you converted. And last but not least is your augments. So none of these augments look like they make any sense, right? But something that you need to keep note of is that you can have the same augment stack on top of each other. However, this only works when you convert an item from PSO2 to new Genesis. If you're making a weapon in new Genesis, you cannot stack the same augment twice. So now let's hop over to the Japanese wiki over here. This is the Japanese wiki where they gathered a bunch of information on what abilities become what. So for example, let us just translate this into English. So you can see right here, if you have melee, range, or technique 1, it'll transfer into attack 1, which gives you 0.25% more power. So you can see over here that these two augments right here got turned into attack 1s, which means that this together increases your attack power by 0.5%. And you'll also notice that everything in new Genesis is now percentage based. We no longer have regular flat stats anymore. Everything is percentage based. So your base weapon is going to be very important because the base weapon itself will have a flat amount of attack damage. And the higher the attack damage, the better the multipliers are going to be. So this basically separates the weapon rarity as well as your augments. So a problem that vanilla PSO2 had was when you got a weapon, you cared more about the weapon potential, you cared more about what S abilities the weapon supports, you cared more about what augments could be put on the weapon, and it became more of an augment game and less of actually caring about the weapon itself. However, with new Genesis, now these are separate. So you just want to get the highest rarity weapon so that you get the most flat damage. And then from what we can see from the closed beta, there were no restrictions to S abilities because S abilities don't exist anymore. So you could basically put whatever augments you want on whatever weapon, which is super nice. So that way you're not stressing out over, oh, I need XYZ weapon because I need this weapon potential, or I need this special augment factor, so forth and so on. It doesn't matter anymore. It's super duper straightforward now. You just focus on the highest rarity weapon with the most attack damage. Once you get that, then you can mess around with the augments and see what works for you. Now we're going to head over to a spreadsheet over here made by the Turtle Terrorist, which was originally posted on Morph Suit America's Discord, and they did a great job over here. They basically took this website over here, the Japanese wiki, and they translated everything into like proper English over here, or at least like more legible English, and they gave us an entire list over here. Now, if you do want to read this for yourself, all the links will be in the description below. But keep in mind, this doesn't cover everything because they did update the wiki over here and they added a lot more, as you can see right here. So if you guys want the latest news, then I recommend coming to the Japanese wiki, then using Google Translate. And even though it is in broken English, at least you sort of get a general idea of how things work. All right. So there's a couple things over here that I want to point out, and that'll be certain augments such as Guardian Soul. So let's say that you do get Guardian Soul on your weapon. When it transfers over to New Genesis, it will not give what Guardian Soul normally gives. It's just going to give you plus 30 HP, plus 2 PP, power plus 1%, lower damage limit, this is like minimum damage plus 1%, and damage resistance plus 1%. So this does not look as impressive as Guardian Soul in the vanilla PSO2. So knowing this, I wouldn't invest tons of resources into making Guardian Soul if your only purpose was to give yourself a head start in New Genesis. If the only thing you cared about was giving yourself a head start, what I would recommend is maybe just focusing on these like Might 5, Precision 5, Casting 5, and put this onto a weapon, because when it transfers over to New Genesis, it will be translated into Attack 3, which gives you power plus 1%. So by having all three, it will become power plus 3%, and then just see whatever else can give you more power. But do keep in mind, the Cras Weapon, when it translates over, will only give you 230 attack damage based off the closed beta. So 3% of 230 attack damage is only 6.9 damage. So logically speaking, that's actually not a lot of damage at all. But I mean, if you just really wanted to min-max or get a ultimate head start or whatever, you could do that. I personally don't recommend it because it's kind of weird to do that. Like, you're min-maxing 6 damage or 7 damage, right? I don't think that's gonna give you a super bleeding edge in order to kill stuff faster or level up faster, so forth and so on. But you know, it's something you can think about, I guess. And down here you can see all the different conversions, such as Crack 5 will become HP plus 30, PP plus 3, power plus 1%, damage resistance plus 1%, so forth and so on, okay? So I know immediately a lot of people are going to be asking, what about my S abilities? And if we look at our S grade augments, you can see right here, any damage type SSAs are just going to be transferred into power plus 1%. The S1 augmented will is going to be translated into power plus 2%. Any defensive type SSAs are going to be damage resistance plus 1%. And any PP type SSAs is just going to translate into PP consumption reduction plus 5%. Now, this is just a general translation. It's not everything, because certain skills such as Skydance support is a little bit different. The way that Skydance support works in New Genesis is you're always going to have the damage and defense boost regardless of whether you're in the air or not. But when you do jump into the air and you're airborne and fighting, you get a 1% damage reduction. So it really depends on what S grade augment we're talking about here. But then again, New Genesis is still in closed beta, so all of these things are subject to change. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to share with you guys today. Hopefully you guys found it helpful. If you did, I would appreciate a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye.
There's our man. There's our man. There's our boy.
What can I say except you're welcome for the heals, the boosts, the rest.